Well, that was unplugged. Before we get into the topic, I don't know if your wife is like mine, and I don't know if it's a Miami Cuban thing or whatever, but my wife tends to unplug everything in the house that she doesn't think is being used right now, including the things that charge my batteries for my tools. I just walked out and my DeWalt charger has been unplugged. There's no reason why. She's just like, well, we're not using this right now. So she's it was charging the battery. Like, it's what... I share my pain with you all because I feel like I don't get a lot of empathy in my own home. Thought I'd share that real quick. Anyway, so today we're going to talk about you want to build a shop, you want to build a custom motorcycle, and what I've learned and how I think it might be able to help you and why I still think you should do it. So howdy, if you're new to the channel, welcome. I appreciate you stopping by. I would really love it if you'd hit subscribe. I never say that stuff in the comments, the thumb up, and all that fabulous crap. And if you're an old viewer, love ya. I thought I'd jump on here and talk a bit about the philosophy of building a bike, whether you should do it, the thing you should be aware of, what I have learned, which has been a lot of building your own bike, whether it be a customized bike, a heavily customized bike, or a ground up, and where to start and all that. And where this came from is at Daytona this last week, I had a lot of people come up to me at the meet and greets and say, like, I want to do this. Like, what they're really saying is, if a fat idiot like you can do it, then I can do it. That's it. I agree. But they want, like, I want to do this, but what should I do? And I have one buddy that I've met at every rally who found, for example, a deal on an old, it was a Big Dog or American Iron Horse or something like that. And he was like, is that a starting point? Does that work? Does it not work? And should I do that and make something that's uncool now that was cool 20 years ago, make it cool again? Or I don't know. And we had the longest chat about that, and it really got me thinking about a bigger thing here. You really have two major choices when you're building a bike, and that is, are you going to start with a donor or start from the ground up? The answer really is your preference. I can't tell you what to do. I can't say, like, this is how you do this. I'm not qualified. I'm not a real builder, as I've been reminded by many people who've never built a bike. I'm not a real builder. I'm an assembler. Blah, 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 blah. I agree. But what do you want? Let me hit myself for you? What? I agree. I'm not a builder. I'm not Chris Callan. I'm not Xavier from Providence Cycles. I am not Billy Lane. I know this. Yeah, you think I don't know that? Anyway, so should you start with a donor bike or start from the ground up? Well, I mean, all these road glides, right? Those eventually started as those are essentially a donor bike because the bodies are different, the wheels are different, the forks are different, the bars are different, audio's different. But that's a modern dresser, totally different. But that's sort of like starting with a working platform, right? Brown Sugar, my sporty chop that I'll put a picture of there in case you haven't watched the channel. Yep, finished that about a year ago. That essentially was a donor bike, kind of. Because Sugar was a purple Sportster chopper when I received it that hadn't run in years and had a whole lot of parts on it that were no longer viable. Brakes, and also aesthetics, right? It had stock Sportster wheels on it. It had stock powder-coated Sportster legs. It had a seat that made no sense. All kinds of stuff. And so I ended up using the frame and the motor and the fork legs. No, the fork tubes and trees, and that's about it. We changed the bars, the legs, wheels and tires, brakes, new seat pan, new tins, it really was just the frame and motor I used. But still, I started with something that at one point ran. And I think that's an important, distinction to make. I've seen a lot of really amazing bikes that started as FXRs or whatever, and they're incredible today, but they still had, and I'm not knocking them, they still had a luxury that you don't have when you start from scratch, and that is, at one point, there was a plan for this motorcycle, right? At one point, there were holes to run wires. There was, somebody had already figured out the geometry. Somebody had already figured out how to make a working and running motorcycle, and that's the advantage of starting with a donor bike, right? Now, I think that's probably certainly your best bet if you're doing your first bike. Start with a donor. Start with an FXR, start with a Softail, start with a Sportster. There is really a whole topic in and of itself. Side note, you have to think to yourself, is there support for the project that you want to do if you're not a fabricator? If you're not somebody who can out here and weld together your own, rear of the frame, or, modify, change the neck angle yourself, if you can't do that yourself, you need to find out, is the motorcycle I'm working on, is there an entire industry behind it? And the reason why you could do a whole video on the Sportster is there's a lot, right? There's a whole lot of stuff out there for the Sportster of almost every year. I mean, all the way into the new ones, like into the 2000s and stuff. There's really cool stuff. TC Bros and Lowbrow Customs and Lead Sled and all these Throttle Addiction. There's all these places that have existing parts or components on a shelf that you can use to take a Sportster and turn it into a pretty legitimately badass chopper. There was actually one at the Dennis Kirk Garage Build show that I think was early 90s Sporty that started as a regular stock Sporty. And what you do is you cut off the rear of the frame and you buy off the shelf from, it's either TC or Lowbrow or even all the above. And it's an entire rear section that the tube is stepped down so it slips inside the existing frame. You weld around that, grind it smooth, and there you go. You have a guy stopping to stare at my house and drive slowly past. I'm gonna go kill somebody real quick. Well, we have two possibilities here. Either he's a burglar or making a delivery from DoorDash or something. I'm going to assume it's DoorDash and just move on. So there's an entire industry to support you chopping up Sporty. This bike that was at the Garage Build show was slick, a very, very slick. If I have a picture, I'll throw it up here. Otherwise, I don't know. Really slick Sporty chop, Frisco style looking bike. And really what it was, the front half of the frame was stock Sportster. The rear half had been hardtailed. It's the original drivetrain. It had cool wheels, and I think it had a 6-over front end on it. So just longer fork tubes, which is easy to find. And then kind of reassembled it, right? And some cool paint, don't get me wrong, really nice paint. You can also rip out that wiring harness and throw in a chopper wiring harness on a bike like that. And in a fairly short period of time, you got a pretty badass Frisco style skinny chop, starting with a Sportster. So starting with a Sportster is by far the easiest way to do it. So there's an idea. FXR, I don't know. There's stuff out there, but I don't know. Do you want a suspended bike? There's a whole philosophical discussion on what makes a chopper, and maybe I should do that video. And everyone's got their own opinion, and everyone's right. And every opinion that isn't theirs is wrong. Like, you can learn that. So it can't have suspension and be a chopper. It can't be a chopper if it has electric start. It can't. These are all things I've heard. It can't. Everyone's got an opinion, and everyone's right. Just ask them, right? So anyway, I think that whatever you want to build is what you should build. Now, ground up. That is not for the faint of heart. That's making something from nothing. And there are ways to make it easier, but it's deceptive. It's not deceptive, because that implies people are trying to, be shady, and they're not. It's just that it's not as easy as you might think to buy like a roller, for example. I did a roller on this build for Smokeout because it was a really good deal for the parts. It was during Christmas, and that deal is now gone, and the price is much higher than it was when I bought it. But I bought this roller chassis because it came with stuff that I could not even use, and I'd still be fine. All I needed was a frame and forks from this company, and they ran a deal that had that frame and those forks for basically the same price, including a whole bunch of other stuff. And then I thought, well, if I don't even use it, what does it matter, right? So you can do this one of two ways. If you build your own ground-up bike, you can piecemeal every piece, find the frame that you want, figure out the dimensions that you want. You do have to know that, and buy everything one at a time, and just really make things fit. Or you can start with a roller, which is a kit. Don't misunderstand what a roller is. I think there's a misconception that a rolling chassis, like a truck pulls up and a door opens, and then they like wheel a motorcycle out, and then you go, there is your rolling chassis. In reality, it's a pallet of parts, right? It's just basically a better price on a whole bunch of parts that theoretically fit together. Let me go through what my roller was real quick. It's not rolling, is it? It's not exactly a rolling chassis as much as it is a frame with an old transmission sitting in it and a mocked up oil tank at this point. And I must say, some fairly decent work smoothing out some booger welds and stuff. But my rolling chassis was a frame, an oil tank, a Frisco style tank, gas tank, rear wheel, hang on, oil, freaking lawnmowers. At least they're racing, that's kind of cool. So, all right, back to what I got. So started games, I can't remember. So you got a frame, you got an oil tank, you got a rear wheel, you got a Frisco style gas tank, which is what I wanted. You got a 21-inch front wheel. You got a set of tires. Came with your tires even. You got the tubes for the tires. You got handlebar, risers, a trailer fender, which is the same fender you could buy off the shelf at Tractor Supply. And this one I chose a 6-over Springer front end. And that headlight I bought online, so that didn't even come with a headlight. I bought all this from Paco, and that was a conscious choice because Sugar's frame is from Paco, and it's straight as an arrow, like a really, really good stuff. And they've been doing this since 1969. Not a sponsor, no relationship. I've become friends with the people there, but I paid for this stuff just like you would, so no bullshit there. So I got a frame. And I got like neck bearings and cups and stuff like that, but no hardware. Not even the rubber isolator hardware to mount the oil tank. So I had an oil tank and a frame and no way to mount it. You still got to get that. The frame still needs a little prep. It's fine. I mean, it comes off the pallet ready to go to paint or powder coat. It really does. But if you're doing something for like a bike like Smokeout, like this is where I'm going to be judged, I went around and worked on booger welds and just smoothed out some places that'll be visible. I just wanted it to be, a little more showy, even though I'm not a show bike guy, than it comes off the pallet. I'm not knocking Paco. It's ready to go to paint. It's just, little stuff that I wanted to make a little more flat topped and stuff like that. So you got a frame and you got all the parts. You still need all the hardware. That trailer fender, for example, is literally just the stamped steel. There's no holes. So you still have to hold that fender up to the frame, figure out your oil tank mounting and how you're going to mount it to the frame. Like this one right now as it sits has the tabs. So I'm ready to mount a fender to this frame as it is. No welding there. Still got to mold that up, position it where you want it, mark it, drill it. Again, no hardware, all that sort of stuff, and get that on there. Oh, I also got a sissy bar. It came in the deal, too. There's still a lot of work to a roller. Sometimes you go to shows or events, and you'll see something like CMC, Chop Machine Cycles, is sitting there with its pair of rollers that are painted even. That's awesome, and I'm sure you can buy it that way and drop a motor or drivetrain in, and you're wired up and you're golden. But that's not your typical roller, and I guarantee CMC's roller that's painted you keep seeing around at shows doesn't cost what I paid. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have that. I mean, I got a lot of money and all this, but not like what that's probably going to cost. So, but if that's what you're looking for, that's out there too. So just a lesson there. If you buy a roller, don't let anyone talk smack at you. It's not really a roller. You just bought a bunch of parts and got a good price on it. I still got to have the tires mounted. Now, this one even included tires, and there's options there. I'll put the link if you want to check it out. It's called the Dirty Biker. And then after I ordered it, I then spoke to Paco on the phone and changed a lot of things. So what you're seeing here is not the roller that's even on the site right now. The cool thing about doing that is I am not going to make a frame. People are going to talk shit no matter what I do. It doesn't matter what I do, people are going to talk shit. I'm not going to make a frame. I don't have the ability, the knowledge, the jigs, the tools, everything you need to make a frame, number one. Number two, I have an 11-year-old daughter. I am not going to make a frame and then go down the highway on it. I need to live. I need to trust that my bike's going to stay in one piece. Paco's been doing this for 50 years. I trust him to do it. So don't let anyone give you shit over buying a frame. All right? They're not building it. Chances are if they're giving you shit, they never built anything. Because the real builders I mentioned earlier, they're nothing but helpful and supportive. They don't talk smack. The only smack talkers out there on your project are going to be people who have never built a bike. I guarantee it. Or they built a bike in 1971 and they haven't ridden a Harley in 25 years. That guy is out there too, but don't take no smack, right? Get out there and build your bike. You got to decide, you're going to start with a donor bike, you're going to start with a roller, or you're going to start piecemealing everything together. I recommend a roller to save you money. You also have to decide your drivetrain in advance. So this frame, for example, one of the things I love about it is this. If you go shovel, pan, or Evo, the engine mounts are the same, right? So this frame, I could drop a shovel head, a pan head, or an Evo right in there. The mounts are the same for the 3 motors. You just drop them in there and you're good to go. The variance really is your transmission mount and how that goes in there, right? So I'm using a 90s 5-speed Softail transmission. That required modification to the frame from the standard design. Standard design is for an old 4-speed. More and more people are either running a 6-4, which is a Baker transmission. It's a 4-speed style transmission with 6 gears in it, or they're going to a more modern 5-speed trans because you want to have a top speed higher than 65. You want to be able to roll down the interstate on this thing. So that's why I went 5-speed. That already had it, so why buy something else? So think about that stuff. What's your drivetrain going to be? Figure out what that requires. I do recommend a Paco frame, even if you just buy the frame. They're about $1,500. And when you order it, you can then call them and say, hey, I just ordered the frame. I need it to accept the 5-speed out of a Softail. I need you to add the brake stop in the back just so it's nice and perfect and straight. Unless you're a welder, again, you can do that yourself. And I'm going to run a Softail style oil tank. Well, they can set the tabs right for that. They can do all that stuff before it leaves the factory, so you're not having to find a local shop to do it. And if you can't do it yourself, which I'm not, I mean, I could do tabs and stuff. I'm not worried about that. But, I just, why? If they offered to do it for nothing, they didn't care. They're like, they make the frame to order. So if you tell them it's going to be a 5-speed and this, they're like, it doesn't matter to us. We just change the jig. There you go. You got the tabs for your oil tank and stuff. So you can do all that. There are some things I still have to remove. I not just realized, but reminded myself looking at the frame. For example, it has all the brackets. I'll just show you. This bracket right here is for the coil. It's the coil mount. Picture the old Softails. They had that sort of chrome block coil cover back there. So that's what that is the bracket for that. And that's not where my coil is going to go. So I need this bracket, which is oil tank, support. And I need this one, but I don't need this entire bit here. So I'm going to cut that off. And smooth that down because my coil is actually going to go on the engine mount, in theory. I know I'm talking 1,000 miles an hour. I just don't want to make an 80-minute video. There are still some I don't knows yet. For example, I had to re-drill and tap the upper engine mounts on my motor to accommodate the correct bolt. There was some weirdness when I got the motor, so that's already done. But when I drop the motor in the frame, I'm going to have to check the heights. Because this motor it's been referred to by a couple different things, but I've heard it referred to several times as a super stroker. It's 4 3/4 inch stroke S&S, and it has STD heads that are tall, so it makes for a taller motor. So when I drop the motor in the frame, I might have clearance issues for the motor mount. Not for the frame itself, but for the motor mount. So I still have to figure that out. I could actually find myself in a situation where I need to mount the coil back there. So I'm not going to cut it off until that motor's been dropped in there and I see that I can fit the coil in the motor mount up high and all that sort of stuff. But these are all things you have to figure out as you're building something. But anyway, so there's my thoughts. I wanted to check in, actually let you know where things are and give you an idea if you want to do this yourself, what it takes, what's involved here, what are you going to have to do, and how you can really jump the tracks and get lost. So comment down below, your thoughts or questions you might have that I may or may not know the answer. And if I don't know the answer, maybe somebody else will watch the video does and they will answer. So I love you all to death. Take care of each other. We'll talk real soon. Bye.